So it's a year since the Vauxhall Ampera joined our What Car long-term test fleet, and I have to say it's been a great car to drive during that year. The one thing that really sticks out in my mind is that, just look at this, it looks absolutely brilliant. Everywhere I go, where it's parked, where it's drive, people comment, stop and have a look at it, and I think that's a really refreshing change for a car in this category. So it's an electric car, but it's got a petrol engine to extend the range, and of course the fuel tank, which holds about 6.5 gallons. So it's quite a short range, probably about 250 miles on petrol only. So you can see the engine bay is absolutely rammed with tech. There's the engine, the motor, and a whole load of thick wires, which you would normally expect to see in a car like this. I'm an absolute sucker for these chiseled looks which you see all over this car. It's got a real futuristic feel to it, and actually it looks like nothing else on the road, not even a supercar. I love it. There's not that much space in the boot. There's enough to put a few bags in, but what you'll see is that it's pretty shallow, and actually it's not shallow because there's a spare wheel. It's shallow because that's where the batteries go, down here. So yeah, 15,000 miles behind the wheel. I think one of the interesting things is that it's a great driving position. The seats are really comfy, the steering wheel's the right distance away, and all these buttons here on the centre console and down here, you can reach right across without having to lean forward, which is something which I can't say about every car on the market. One problem though I do find is the visibility right up here at the front. Because the windscreen is so sloped, these A-pillars are actually pretty thick, and at times it makes it quite difficult to spot cyclists as they're crossing your path. The lack of visibility is particularly actually noticeable when it's dark, when you're on the motorway, and when it's raining, when actually it's not that relaxing to drive because of not quite being able to see through a couple of bits of the windscreen. There's the same problem sometimes at the rear of the car, where it's got a fairly small opening, and although it's got a little window underneath, it gets covered over pretty easily with muck and dirt kicked up by the wheels and by other cars. And you find that if it weren't for the reversing camera, which you see through the centre console, you'd be struggling sometimes to stick the car into a parking spot. One problem with this nice looking centre console, however, is the fact that it's all touch sensitive, which is great, and it looks and it's nice and easy to keep clean. But if you've got gloves on, none of the buttons work at all. So when it was cold, I found I was trying to put the seat heater on like that and nothing would happen. There's hardly any compromises at all to driving this as an electric car, a range extended electric car. One of the problems though is that actually in the back there's only 2 seats instead of a bench because there's some battery storage down there, and that causes a real issue because the number of times you just want to carry 5 people in a car in this category and you just can't. There's just no way around it. It's not like you can squeeze people in. You can't drive an Ampera for a year without thinking about the running costs quite a lot, and it's pretty impressive really. It does about between 40 and 45 miles on the electric charge, which covers my commute to work and back. So if I was to do that, and it does roughly 45 miles to the gallon in town as well, if I did that on petrol, you'd probably expect to pay a gallon's worth of fuel about £6.50. That same amount of electricity, 12 kilowatt hours for the charge, costs around £1.50. So for every commute to and from work, I'm saving £5 every working day because it's electric. One thing which really annoys me is the sat-nav, and actually I'm just going to pull over here and I'll just show you exactly what I mean. So I choose postcode and I put in the postcode. So let's put in the postcode of my house. SE6. Now, I'm SE61 LF, but I can't put in the L and the F because it doesn't hold a full UK postcode, which means that when you arrive there, you end up in a radius, which is quite a big area around my house, trying to find an exact space and not knowing exactly how to get there. Now, it's my house, so it's fine, but when you're going somewhere you don't know, that's just useless. Your phone works, why doesn't this? So the great thing about the range extender for the petrol engine is that it doesn't matter what electric charge you've got left. You could be just completely out and you still know if you've got a full tank, you've got 250 or so miles. However, just imagine I did want to charge the batteries up because I'm going into town or something like that, and of course it's congestion charge free. I'd type in the points of interest into the sat-nav and then browse through to the electric charging points, wouldn't I? Well, as you can see from doing this, there are no electric charging points in the point of interest, although bizarrely it's got LPG gas stations, which of course this car doesn't take. And that's a bit weird to me. It feels like the whole sat-nav system hasn't had as much thought as it should have done. You've got to hand it to the people who designed and built this car. It's an incredible achievement, the engine. You don't feel it at all. It swaps from motor to engine and motor back. It's completely seamless. It's absolutely amazing. Before I got in it, the first time I was thinking it's going to be a bit clunky swapping for all, and I've never ever thought about it right up for the whole of the rest of the year. It's incredible. Charging up's a pretty simple business. You touch your card there, the flap pops open, stick the plug in, push the flap closed, take the other end, stick it into the car, and the lights on the charging post turn to green and the thing's charging. So it'd take you about 8 hours to charge, I would have thought, and that would give me a 40-mile range to take me across town on electric charge only. All in all, I've had a great year with the Ampera. It's got some great things going for it. It's car tax band A, it's congestion charge exempt. The running costs from commutes across town are really, really impressively low. The one thing, though, that I think, and it's a big but, is the price. This is a £39,000 car. In fact, it's £40,000 if you count this crystal red paintwork that we opted for when we got it. Now, the government gives you £5,000 back, so that makes it £35,000, but there's still some really serious competitors there from this class and the class above, and that's something you should seriously think about if you're thinking about buying one.